So hi folks, Hamish Cameron here, tuning in from New Zealand. A too early time. It's actually not that early now. It was too early when the first panel happened. I am Peregrine Kiwi on Twitter and in the chat. I have played through all of the endings of this game, but I still have some achievements to get. So I played it a little bit before to look at some of the inscriptions again. I'm a Roman historian. I teach at Victoria University in Wellington, down in New Zealand, where I teach about Roman geography and games and ancient history, Roman stuff generally, a bit of spatial studies. So there's lots of stuff in here that's relevant to my interests. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I think you were frozen, so I'm gonna add you again to the. Because for some reason, when I open up Discord again, it freezes the guests. So let's try to avoid that. So normally everyone should be moving, and everyone should be able to be heard. So thank you for introducing yourself. I'll briefly introduce myself as well. So I'm Alexander Vandewalle. I'm joint PhD student at the University of Antwerp and Ghent University in Belgium, where I study the characterization of Greek and Roman gods and heroes in video games set in the ancient world. I'm also the creator of a work-in-progress database called Paizomen, which aims to catalog all existing video games set in either ancient Greece or Rome, and which currently houses 315 games set in Greece or Rome. And it also includes some basic information on the games, as well as an initial bibliography where possible. It's still a work in progress, but I think it can already be useful at this stage, and you can find it at paizomen.com. So that's paizomen.com. So without further ado, I think we can start our stream, start our gameplay. I'm gonna start a new game. Also bear with us because for some reason, for the past couple of days, the game has been really slow in loading. So let's hope we don't get that today, but we'll see. So let's start a new game. The game starts with this message from the developers. So it's been developed by a core team of 3 people who've been mentioned in David Serrano's presentation as well. So it's made primarily by one person, Nick Pierce. He had the idea for the game, and then he was helped by 2 others, Josh Iyer and Alex Goss. Josh was the artist and Alex was a programmer. And we started in the present day, as you can see. And there's this character.
Hey! You're alive! When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up.
I'm sorry?
I checked your pockets for ID.
It was not at all suspicious.
Phone, maybe?
No. She's very suspicious.
But all I found was some loose change. So, wanna tell me who you are?
Alright, so this is where we can choose, or we can create our character. Maybe it's an important detail that we can remember for later on in the stream is this coin, which might be interesting later on. But you can choose if you want to be male or female, but then they represent it through this coin. So I like that reference.
I did not realize.
I'm sorry?
No, go Kira.
Is that Agrippina the Elder on the coin?
Let's see.
I think it is.
It could be, yeah.
I think it's Nero and Agrippina.
Yeah, it says Nero here.
Yeah.
But I can't
and I think
quite
on the other
make
side
out.
oh no, Antonina?
Is it Augusta
maybe?
Or something? I don't know.
When I got to this, I completely did not realize that you were choosing a gender here. I thought you were choosing a different, facial structure.
Oh no, I thought it was, yeah. No, yeah. Because there's only 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, this one is Nero for sure. I'm not quite It could be Antonia, yeah. David. So yeah. Then we can choose our skin tone. And we need to find a name for the character. Does anyone have a a preference for the name that we could choose?
I used my own name when I
Use
did
your
this.
own name? Yeah.
Yeah,
I used
but then
mine.
I chose. Yeah.
When I did it multiple times, I went with Secundus Tertius because
Oh, nice.
you know, we're at Ames, so let's call him Amesius or something.
Name's yes, yeah.
Well,
All right.
it's nice to meet you.
Pressing
And
the.
I'm sorry to pry, but any idea why you were floating down the river? What's the last thing you remember?
What's the last thing we remember? And here we can choose what kind of character we are. If we were, say we were looking for ancient ruins, we're an archaeologist. If we say we're on a covert mission, we are a soldier, and then we have a gun, but only 10 bullets, so you have to use them sparingly if you use them at all. You can be a fugitive, which makes you 25% faster. Or you can be an amnesiac, which means you have increased your pain threshold, making you 50% harder to take down. I've preferred to play as the archaeologist, that I think I think for this stream it will be most interesting, because the archaeologist is able to translate Latin inscriptions, and none of the others are. So I think maybe we can go for I see people wanting to be fugitive or amnesiac. What do you guys think? I think we can go for the archaeologist, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an archaeologist? Then you'll definitely want to hear this. I don't know if it's exactly what you're looking for, but there are some ruins just behind you. Roman, I think. I need you to go in there and see if you can find a guy named Al for me.
So we're looking
He
for a
went in
guy
there a
named
few hours
Al.
ago, and he hasn't come out. I've been freaking out, wondering if he's trapped or injured or worse. I would have gone in after him, but he made me promise to stay here, no matter what. There's no way I'm leaving without him. So I'm just kind of stuck here, waiting. What I mean is, I was hoping you wouldn't mind going in there to find him. If you can do that, I can get both of you back to civilization in my
Also
boat.
notice the boat
Please?
that she mentions, also an important detail. But before we venture off into the Roman ruins, let's ask some questions first.
Of course.
Maybe.
Sorry, I don't mean to be pushy. I just... What do you want to know?
And let's ask who this stranger
Oh,
is.
there's not much to tell. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Know what I mean? Oh,
She doesn't want to say her
I'd
name.
rather not say if it's all the same to you.
I think we're gonna want to know her name if we're gonna be helping her. So let's ask why she doesn't want to tell us.
All right, fine. Sorry if I sounded cagey, it's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
So her name is Karen. We can say, thank you for saving my life, Karen. Why didn't you want me to tell your name? Or, all those Karen memes have really ruined that name, huh?
Such a good option.
You want to go for that option?
Always.
Yeah, I apologize for anyone named Karen in the
yeah,
chat, but
Something like that. But right now, I have bigger problems, like finding Al.
who is Al?
He's the guy who washed up on the riverbank not long before you did. I thought maybe you two knew each other. I guess not. But maybe the two of you can piece together what you're doing here. In any case, you'll like him, I'm sure. Once you find him, that is.
And where are we?
You really don't remember? We're in Italy. This river is the Tiber.
So we are near the banks of the Tiber, in the present day.
Not much, really. But imagine what you might find in there. Priceless ancient artifacts.
Good question, Maji.
Al. What am I, an idiot? You could hike a long, long way in any direction and never find another soul. Trust me.
That's all the
Great.
question we have.
So you're ready to go look for Al?
Let's go look for this person, because otherwise there's no game.
Thank you. The entrance is just past
We
those
just
columns
ignore the
behind
call to adventure.
you. Please, hurry.
Like, no, I'm gonna log off
I
now.
mean, yeah,
He left this here.
we
But I
don't
think
know
he'll
him,
need it more than I would.
and so we get this. We get a flashlight, because all horror slash thriller games have a flashlight. So we see the boat here that she has. So let's go through the ruins, and as we're walking there, I'm gonna sprint a little bit because I want to show much of in the game. Let me just briefly introduce it. So the game was made by this developer called Modern Storyteller, and we have some nice Roman artwork here. And it's actually based off 2015 mod for Skyrim, a game that came out in 2011. And it was a hugely popular mod that had over 3 million downloads, even won an Australian Writer Guilds Award in 2016, I think. And now it's been turned into its own game, and it's been received very well. It was nominated for Best Debut Indie Game, I think, at the Game Awards, although if you watched them last week, you know that they lost, but still, it shows what kind of game it was. And so we've arrived at this temple. Just a small round temple. There's a note at the door.
If you're reading this, it means I've discovered the entrance
And then
to
there's a
an
letter
ancient
with
Roman
Al.
city
And we have some art here as
deep
well.
Underground.
We can zoom in with the photo mode, I think. So Kira, you mentioned...
is-
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the Poseidon Bardo National.
I'm hearing bits and pieces of your audio. I don't know if anyone else is.
Oh, sorry. This better?
I think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like my video's lagging a bit as well. I was just saying that the Poseidon mosaic is
All
from
knowledge of it lost.
Oh yeah.
Bardo National League.
In the Latin inscription here,
Mm-hmm.
it reads, "You who wish to enter the city, step forth and be judged.
So,
the virtuous
we have this
shall
letter
be
from
rewarded
Al.
with eternal
He's
life
warning
in
us
paradise.
to not go
wicked
further.
Shall find
But
themselves
of course,
showered in gold, but in vain.
Let's go
For
further.
this shall be their final resting place."
Then we fall down this huge shaft. Luckily, there's some water to catch us, because apparently in video games, every time you fall in water, you don't take any damage whatsoever. So,
It's very soft.
yeah, I
It's very
mean... So we are in this, what seems
Could
to
an
be...
underground city
a
have remained a
bathhouse.
secret for all this time?
Then there's this Latin text.
Could people have survived down there?
And because
against the
we've
odds?
chosen to be the
It
archaeologists,
seems.
we can translate this, and it says, in Latin it says pro peccata unius multis dolebunt, which isn't correct Latin, but the game wants it to mean the many shall suffer for the sins of
If I'm
one,
not back in an hour,
which
I'm
we'll hear
somewhere
about
on the other side.
later.
Consider this an invitation or a warning.
We have some,
Ooh, check out the graffiti on the wall.
Yeah.
where is it?
Just
Go back.
Just the back down the steps to the
Oh.
right.
It's on the stairs.
Oh, here, yeah. Miminisse semper vigilabant. Always remember they're watching. And then we have some soldiers here with the shields and the swords.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They've got the right font for
Yeah,
for
like-
Roman
true.
graffiti too.
Yeah, that's something David mentioned in his presentation as well, like the what you call it, like the layout of those inscriptions. They're very much reminded of the Pompeii inscriptions, even though their Latin is not always as good. But still, I mean,
Yeah.
it contributes to the authentically Roman atmosphere, you could say, I think. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of nice inscriptions in this game. Like there's some very funny ones as well later on. So yeah.
The Latin and Pompeii inscriptions also isn't that good sometimes.
Oh yeah. maybe it was
Appropriate.
maybe it was
Always.
intentional.
Yeah.
No, if the Romans couldn't do it right, why should they? We have another mosaic. An ancient Roman mosaic depicting a godlike figure turning a man to gold. I couldn't find this mosaic online. I don't know if anyone else. Like the one from earlier with Poseidon, that's an actual inscription that I found from. I've written it down somewhere from. I think northern Africa. From the 2nd century CE, I think. But this one I couldn't find anywhere, so I'm not sure. But it's about... Yeah, sorry.
I'm 90% sure that it's real, but I think that they've recolored the golden man figure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I've seen it. I just...
Yeah, so...
Yeah, they might have overlaid.
They might have overlaid, and then?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, but so the important thing to remember is that it's about turning people into gold. Then we have this whisper that's being ominous. A Roman gladiator amidst stride. What could have made a gladiator flee? Oh, I pushed him over. Did not mean to do that. And
no, you can push these guys over.
Yeah. If you walk into them, I think you can.
Oh yeah.
I only discovered that through clumsiness.
Right.
So I'm
a couple of people in Zoom, by the way, found really good coin similarities for the female coin. I'll look out for somebody telling us what that mosaic is.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I'm gonna run through this part, but you can see all of the ruins, but I want to get to the city, so I'm gonna run a little bit here. People are saying, Kira, that you're still cutting out the audio, so... This is a Roman woman who appears to be praying for help that never came. So something bad happened here, and it's up to us to find that out. To find out what. But then here we find another statue who is probably Al, because he's wearing modern clothes, but it's in gold.
To whoever reads this.
And we have a inscribed stone tablet with him, but we can't really read it here, so let's just listen to it.
Find me like this, and worse. You'll suffer the same fate I did. I've spent a lifetime in this place, going around and around in circles, searching for a way out. The inscription was right. There is no way back. In here, there are only two options: death, and that godforsaken doorway into the past. I made the mistake of stepping through it.
You have to go to a doorway?
Right. I tried. I really tried. Whatever I did, it took me right back to the beginning. Don't make the same mistake. Better to end it all now. Find out what awaits you beyond that portal.
We have an ominous portal that he's warning us to not go into, but of course we're going in it, and there's some human remains. Whoever it was died a long time ago, it says. I can't hear you, Kira.
No, I could see you talking, Kira, but
yeah.
That one microphone doesn't seem to be working at all.
So I'm gonna go into this, and let's see where this takes us. So, sadly, in order to discuss this game, we're gonna have to go into spoilers. It's a mystery game, so I mean, we're not gonna spoil the ending or any of the 4 possible endings, but we will go into some details, like both smaller and large ones. But it's necessary if you want to talk about this game, I think. But also, if you want to know the ending, you'll have to go out and play it for yourself, which I recommend you do, because it's a good game. And I think one of the most interesting games this year, perhaps the most interesting game this year as far as classical reception is concerned. So I don't know, Hamish, you played it as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I also really liked it. I think one of its virtues actually is it's quite short.
Yeah.
So if you are worried about like, oh, I've heard these games take forever, like every Assassin's Creed game is like a 200-hour commitment if you want to play through the whole thing, basically. But this one, I think I finished in about 8 hours, as you said. Like,
I think.
and that was finishing basically all 4 of the endings.
And so now we've gone through a portal. And here we see a Roman relief depicting a great circular portal and 2 women. I wonder who they could be. And we'll find out later in the game, but you might already know who. Got some art here, Roman artwork as well. And now we see we're in the same city, and I see the game is already being difficult technically, but let's just wander into the city. Yeah.
Salve, friend. I'm Galerius.
Yeah, the
Mind
pomegranates
telling me
make it
who
obvious
you are
indeed.
and what you were doing in the Shrine of Proserpina?
What were we doing in the Shrine of Proserpina? So, yeah, the pomegranates. I'm Amesius, I've just come from the future. Wait, are you speaking English? Is that Shrine of Proserpina? I'm Amesius and I got lost. Let's ask why he's speaking English first.
What? I'm speaking Latin. You
Apparently
are
he's
too,
speaking Latin, and
although
so are
your
we.
accent's a little strange. Oh, I see what you did there. Changing the subject like that.
It is on our tail.
Nice try. But I'll ask again. Who are you? And what were you doing in the shrine?
You want to lie to him, or you want to say we're from the future? You
I don't
wanna?
think I did either.
Let's say we're from the future and see how he reacts to that.
No idea what you're talking about. Oh, wait. Are you a bit, not right in the head? That's all right, friend. Everyone's welcome here.
So let's ask him what today's date is, because we're apparently in a Roman city.
We sort of lose track of the date down here, but it feels like the beginning of spring to me, so I'd say early March?
Of what year?
It's 817 AUC. Sorry, you look confused. 817 years since the founding of Rome. Which part of the empire are you from, exactly?
So, and because we're the archaeologists, we're able to find out, to calculate that 817 AUC is 65 CE. So we're 1 year after, or 7 months actually after the Great Fire in Rome. It's also an important detail. So.
CE?
But
Hey, can you all hear me now?
No idea
I can
what
hear
you're
you,
talking
yeah.
about.
Yay!
Most folks seem a bit confused when they get here.
Yeah, they don't mention which Great Fire though.
You seem very lost.
Yeah.
And in more ways than one. So let me make this nice and simple for you. Live by our law here, and we'll all get along just fine.
It's law.
Not laws, law. There's just one, the golden rule, and the punishment for breaking it's kind of horrific. But our magistrate insists we take all newcomers to see him, so I guess I'll let him fill you in. So then, you coming?
I guess we're gonna want to follow him in our first foray into the city. And one thing I really like about this game is that you can just tap E to follow people, because otherwise in games you're always faster than the person you're supposed to follow, and that's really annoying. But here you can just enjoy the scenery. So, give some context. So we time travel to 65 CE, and the time travel aspect is really interesting. It's a very common trope, I think, in classical reception, and especially in video games. Like in the 80s, for example, there's a couple of games like Elysian Fields and Other Greek Myths, or Time Soldiers, Myth, History in the Making. Those are all time travel games, and even today we still have that. With Call of Duty Black Ops 4 even allows you to time travel to Delphi, I think, in the zombie mode. Normally what you have with these time travel receptions that they bring you to like
the food you'll ever want.
specific highlights of Antiquity, like the Vesuvius eruption or Delphi, for example. But this game doesn't do that.
The bloodless shadows wander without flesh.
This brings you to like a more generic,
Don't mind Livia.
fictional Roman place, and I think that's a move away from what we usually see with the time travel receptions.
Well, you know, I don't know what happened to her. Up here on your right is the chasm. If you've got a weapon, it belongs way down at the bottom.
So we sold that there's about 23 people
where you can visit the
in the
market
city
or get yourself patched
that
up
we're
in
walking
Lucretia's
through.
clinic in the Shrine of Apollo.
It's lagging a
Three of
little
them
bit.
must have-
Yeah, 3 of them are missing. Important.
Just what we had on us
It's
when we
lagging a
arrived.
little bit for some reason. I'm just gonna turn the video down to medium. I used to play this on Epic and I had no problems with it, but right now, for some reason,
Able to make and
Yeah.
scrounge up since. And this
It still looks good,
central
I mean, but-
plateau is where the magistrate and the other patricians
Also
live.
interesting to note that all of the gold statues around the city are character models and not like
Take it easy,
the actual Roman
Horatius.
statues that you
Take
see
my
elsewhere in
new
the
friend here
game.
to see the magistrate.
Well, he's asked me to escort the newcomer personally.
So we see like some
Oh, now.
general
You better go with him. Just remember,
Roman architecture. Like I mean, the buildings you would expect, like a arch here. You have the aqueduct over there.
I said it'll take some
we'll see
getting
some
used
other
to.
Yeah,
uh, buildings as well. And there is this
Wellington, city.
character named Horatius.
Horatius. Magistrate Sentius asked me
Who's-
to escort you to Follow me, please.
escorting us to the magistrate. What's this about?
I expect the magistrate wants to brief you about the Golden Rule. It shouldn't take too long. He's busy preparing for the election later today.
All right, so
Follow me.
let's go see this magistrate we're supposed to see.
I understand right now is the Golden Rule.
But it looks really good. I mean, the game is really nice.
Explain it this way.
But sometimes you get these technical
serving
hiccups
in the Legion.
with Galerius' face.
There was a mutiny brewing in one cohort. The legate in charge wouldn't waste time finding the bad apples among hundreds. They just divided us into groups of 10.
And so here Horatius is talking about decimation in the Roman army, which he compares to the Golden Rule. But let's find out what the Golden Rule is, and then we can talk about this connection, because it is similar, but
for the crimes of the
I think it is a weird similarity here.
decimation. If that seems like rough
Here we are in
justice to
the rich house of
you're in
the
for a
magistrate.
rude shock.
Love the porphyry columns and the wall painting.
Exactly 10 times
yeah.
worse. The magistrate can explain the rest.
Yeah, so there's much color here, but as David also talked about in his presentation, all of the other buildings are monochrome white marble. And they did that, he explained, because they were scared to have negative reactions or comments from people who thought it would be jarring to see colored temples, for example, as they did in Odyssey. And while historians loved seeing all the color in Odyssey, many fans thought it was weird. So it's a shame that they didn't color the rest up as much. But
Whatever are you wearing?
here we have some nice colors.
The bust is Athena.
Yeah, and sometimes not here. Sometimes you can pick these up and you can like look at them, but maybe that's only later in the game. But yeah.
I think there's one in his office that you can pick up.
Yeah, I thought there was one here. Here, yeah, but that's not Athena anymore. It's Ares. But you can pick those up
That's my room.
and you can have a good look at them. Like this is something you would have in Skyrim as well. You can still see the influence from Skyrim. You can pick up most of the objects and look at them as you would as an archaeologist. So let's go see this magistrate.
Horatius, there's a horrid barbarian.
Oh yeah, and
sneaking
she
around
is
in our
calling
villa.
us a barbarian because obviously we're not wearing Roman clothes, so she thinks we're weird. And this magistrate is here. And he looks as any Roman commander
We're
would.
finally alone. I assume
popular
you
culture, at
already
least.
know who I am. May I know your name?
If only he had a British accent.
Oh yeah, exactly.
A curious name.
What is Barbarus in Villa Est? I like that.
Accent. But I digress. I see you have the piercing and astute eyes of a man of great learning.
Having heard from
We're always happy to welcome
Davida's presentation this morning that this was an Australian team, I'm now a little disappointed that all the Romans don't have Australian accents.
You're probably wondering why I
Yeah.
you, and I'll get to that. But first, take a look at this wondrous place, would you? A secret city built deep in the mountains.
I think it would be nice to break out of the usual, like, make the Romans British vibe.
Yeah, true.
Every ancient game and every ancient movie as well, for the most part.
Yeah. So do we think the city is beautiful, or do we want to get out of here as fast as possible? I mean, actually, maybe both, but let's just say it's beautiful.
Indeed. More importantly, consider the miraculous community we've built here over the last 7 months. 22 complete strangers brought together by the fates, living and working together in our own little paradise. And in all that time, not a single sin has
So we're
been
living in this city where
no fights.
when one person sins or does something illegal, everybody dies by being turned into golden statues. And so he's asking us, have we ever seen something as extraordinary as a city without sin? I can't say I have, so let's choose that
Nor
option.
could I, until I came here. But the reason for this
And he's really
this miracle
glorifying the city
is
that
as simple
he is a
as it
magistrate
is
of.
terrifying.
Did
If
they have the
even
concept of sin? That's a
one
good
person
question.
Commits a sin here,
But by sin they mean
every last
general
one of us
crimes, I
will
think.
die.
Yeah.
See,
Seems to
the
me
builders of
mores,
this place
like Roman
Yeah.
mores.
Mm-hmm.
left inscriptions warning, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one."
So he doesn't know who built this
From what
place,
we
where
can
they're all
gather,
at.
breaking the law here will anger the gods and provoke a terrible
And he's
punishment.
comparing the golden rule,
Like
he says, to the curses of Medusa and Midas combined,
turning us all
because they're turning into gold statues, and that's only one of the
call it.
mythological inspirations they have for the golden rule.
It's extraordinary that we've survived as long as we have, and each day I grow more and more afraid that our time in the sun is almost up. And now it seems that day is finally here.
I would like to know how he can have time in the sun if he's underground. And why is it so bright down there?
Yeah.
Why else would the sun
Good
be
question.
you now?
All the time playing this, I never looked up to see what was lighting
Our
it.
doom is
That's a
assured.
good question.
I know that's a lot to tell.
Plot lighting.
Yeah.
Questions, please ask away.
So let's ask what counts as a sin in this place, just so we know if we're gonna investigate who's might be breaking in.
An
We know
intelligent
what we're looking
question.
for.
There was a good deal of debate about that in our first weeks here. Does it refer to crimes or to some other ill-defined wrong? Of course, everyone agrees on the basics. No theft, no assault, and certainly no murder. But beyond that, it was more difficult.
So what is
to
actually
consensus.
sin
Oh,
or
there's a
crime?
hole.
Lying,
Okay.
insulting someone.
Yeah, I also think there's a hole, but
Trying
and then
to
that begs the
escape,
question, why didn't it not just build a stairway and get out of there?
suicide.
Exactly.
But
As magistrate, I had to exercise
Well,
leadership, and
That
so
would
I
contravene the
made a
golden rule,
decision.
right?
yeah,
We must uphold
But is
the
it a
laws
sin
of
to
the
build the
Empire
stairway?
to a standard never before
Well, it's a sin to
seen.
try and escape.
And we must
yeah.
honor the peace of the gods, the sacred accord between the gods and the people of Rome. It is only by offering the gods the proper respect that we may prosper, as Rome has for centuries.
and this is really interesting. Like, he says it's only by offering the gods we may prosper, so that we may prosper as Romans for centuries. I'm not sure if that's always a good idea. What is legal isn't always moral, and many of your laws and customs are considered barbaric where I'm from. So we, having been called a barbarian up to this point, we can now call Romans barbaric for what they did. So let's do that.
Barbaric? What are
I'm
you
sure he'll be
talking
completely open-minded about it.
Oh yeah,
It's the most civilizing force in the known world.
Empire is the most civilizing force to the whole
Rome is a
world.
beacon
It's a
of
beacon
light
of light in the darkness.
For 800 years she has borne great statesmen, philosophers, poets, artists, and engineers.
And of course, he's
we have comprehensive laws
glorifying
protecting
everything.
the rights of our citizens, which have unified countless warring tribes all across the Mediterranean and beyond, from Gallia to Judea. All our citizens are treated the same, regardless of the color of their skin or their sexual preference. Can you say the same? When our people are starving, they are given food rations.
Oh yes, no racism or discrimination in the Roman Empire.
Not at all.
Before the magistrate. Our laws forbid treason.
But we can expect a Roman would say that.
Open-minded utopia.
Oh yeah.
No other civilization in the world.
I like that
is
in
so
that little
advanced,
speech,
and you have the hubris to
highlights
call
a
us
number of
barbaric?
types of people who are going to appear in the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So now do we have the hubris to call him barbaric? But let's ask him some more questions. Don't your laws allow slave ownership?
Of course.
And of course he's going to defend everything.
Those prisoners of war who would otherwise have been executed. And besides, there are laws for their protection as well.
Don't you people watch blood sports for entertainment?
On occasion. But our gladiators are almost all volunteers seeking glory, or condemned prisoners who would have been executed anyway. I do not see the harm. Of course.
Don't women have fewer rights than
fewer
men?
rights come fewer responsibilities, and the right to be protected by their fathers and husbands.
Don't they persecute Christians?
You mean the blasphemous cult
And
responsible
of course he's going to
for burning
refer to
down
the
half of Rome last
fire of Rome.
It's hard to blame the people for being angry about that.
Don't they practice collective punishment?
Are you talking about our practice of decimation? Of course. We could hardly unite all these warring tribes without a disciplined, formidable legion.
So, do we say he's right, or do we say we consider those things to be abhorrent? I think we can all have the same. We will all have the same answer. I think where I'm from, we consider
Yeah, let's
those.
keep pissing him off.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right now, you're a long,
We're a long way from home.
from home.
Far from home.
I have made my pronouncement on the subject. Unfortunately, there are still those here who resist, whispering blasphemous and treasonous lies in the shadows. I would be keeping a close eye on them if I were you.
So we can ask further questions, but I also want to show some other things. So I think we can just leave him here with his ideologies, and let's go explore the city a little bit.
Good. So, are you with me? Can I count on you to figure out who's about to break the golden rule?
Doesn't seem like I have much
No,
choice.
I don't suppose you do. But I'm hoping that even if you're not burdened with a sense of self-sacrifice, you'll at least see the sense in self-preservation. Wonderful. Now, I need you to investigate.
And so he prompts us to talk to everyone, and that's one of the main part of the game, is having conversation with people. So, like David also said, it's a very different game in that there's almost no violence in the game. I mean, there's you can, if you choose a soldier, you have the gun, but if you would use it, you would break the golden rule because you're committing a sin, and then you, I mean, everybody dies. So you in effect, effectively you can use violence, but you're incentivized to not use it, and that's I mean, an interesting development from earlier games where basically the main mechanic is violence.
I'd start my investigation by visiting.
Then we should start with Lucretia, the Shrine of Apollo in the Forum.
I heard wailing from there not long ago. Seems like something's not right.
So let's talk about this exchange for a little bit. I think it's very interesting because it, rather than glorifying Rome or spectacularizing Rome, as we often see in receptions, it really problematizes it. Like from the beginning, attention is drawn to the problematic aspects of antiquity, and I think that's a very interesting point that this game makes. It doesn't just look at how great the Romans were, but no, it's about looking at them from our perspective, which is what the time travel mechanic allows us to do. And it draws attention to these questions that we are having in Class 6 today. I mean, literally today, like, what has the ancient world ever done for us? How are we indebted to Antiquity? And how should we judge our relationship to them? And I think this game is a point in that direction of reflection, for example.
Are they?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Hamish.
I was just going to say, over on Zoom, Alison Poe found that mosaic that we were looking
great.
at. It was the house from the House of Ion in Paphos, in Cyprus.
Oh, wow.
And it does look like Ion has been recolored, as you were suspecting, Kira.
Okay.
To be far more golden. He's already has a golden kind of golden vibe. There's a link she posted. So thanks, Alison.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I was just gonna say about the about questioning Rome. I was really worried when they first announced that they were doing this game and switching the mod to be in ancient Rome, that it was going to be kind of like this go back to ancient Rome power fantasy where, you know, the Romans are the best at everything. But I mean, the fact that they're kind of getting into current discourse, you know, on the morality of, you know, our reception of ancient Rome is it speaks highly to me of the developers and the like the research that they actually put into this.
Yeah, exactly. It's also been talked about by David, but it's a very different kind of Rome game. I think it asks questions. It doesn't want you to fight. There's no spectacles in this game. There's no there's one gladiator, but he doesn't fight because he can't, because that will break the rule. There's no chariot races, for example, which you often get. But what we see here, there's a theater that we will see later. There's a forum. I mean, it's a very different kind of game, and I think this might be like a step in a direction where we see more philosophically or politically inspired Roman games, I think. By the way, we stumbled up on this statue here, who you may, and I see the game is really lagging for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry for that, but in the chat you might have figured out who the statue is according to this, and she's standing next to a fountain. But we'll see other statues like these as well. So let's explore a little bit more. Let's go this way, for example. It is indeed Denied, Magi.
Interesting.
So this place, this is really, I mean, when I saw this, I was so, I really had to laugh, because this is like latrina, the Roman toilets. But how often in games do you see Roman toilets? I mean, not even Assassin's Creed, with their so-called historical accuracy, would include this in their games. So I really like that aspect, and they have the sponge sticks as well. And it's actually, I think this is an in-game achievement. That pick up the sponge stick or something. So that's funny. And they have some graffiti here as well. What does this one say? Qui hicacatus es medicus necacitatibus videre. So I mean, they have some funny graffiti here. But I mean, it's a very, like, they really thought about what would people need to live in a city. Like we need a water supply, which we saw with the aqueduct. There's the toilets. There's a tailor. We will see that there's a baker as well. Like, they really thought, how do we make this a functioning city? And this is the forum, and we can go talk to everyone here. But for this stream, maybe let's not go into all of their conversation, because they can be quite long. There's a temple here. This one is to Diana, and this temple here is to Apollo. Maybe we can enter it just to briefly look at it, but it looks really good, and it's very detailed. And also with the red marble columns that we see here, and the statue of Apollo. Let's have a look around further.
There's actually a lot of variation in those wall reliefs as well.
Go back.
Yeah, I think I found 3 or 4 so far.
Yeah, which is definitely a big difference between something like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they're really reusing things pretty heavily.
Yeah.
And when the game is that big, you notice it. There's 3.
That's the that's the Hadrian that I was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Let me zoom in with the photo.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. You see that beard?
Yeah. So that would be anachronistic during Nero's rule, but then again, it's time travel, so we can we criticize them for this. But this one, the left one,
time travel can't justify that though.
Yeah, true. But the left and the right one, they are the same, so they reused that one there.
Yeah.
That's at the other side. There's a Hadrian one again. Yeah, so it's this the 2x2, the same ones.
No, it's just okay.
But you're right. I mean, Odyssey, like it was really obvious with Odyssey. I mean, here it's you have some variation, and I think they're more detailed than in Odyssey as well. Like in Odyssey, there's the paintings, for example, they're more stylized, I think. But these ones are really more detailed. And so we can talk to Lucretia here, but let's explore the city a little bit more. And it's also a very diverse game. Like they're not all the white male Romans that you would otherwise maybe find. There's a Greek character as well. There's a black woman. There's a Phoenician, I think, or at least I think it's a Phoenician. So it's a very multicultural Roman society here.
Yeah, it's Babylonian as well, which is a little bit of a historical boo-boo.
True, yeah. An Egyptian character as well. We might see him later. And we have a nice theater here. But it's all the monochrome white that we sadly would come to expect.
Not gonna lie, it kind of hurts to look at it.
Yeah.
It needs color.
True, you're right.
It does make the gold statue stand out a little bit more.
That is true, yeah.
True.
So there's also something here. Here we have a little... Here's where they live. These are their houses. We can go and explore their houses. There's a little tavern here.
Cerberus lifts his dribble head and lets out his
character Livia is
braying.
Rambling.
Livia, would you stop muttering like Medea over a cauldron?
About
You'll
Cerberus.
scare away my customers.
They follow their trades, imitating their
some of you might
previous
recognize
lives.
what she's
They
rambling
are
Yeah.
ignorant.
That was...
This again.
Does anyone recognize what she's rambling about? Let's see what she has to say.
Just as the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world, so this place accepts all the souls. But it does not notice the crowds that come. The bloodless
story?
shadows wander without flesh or
She
bone.
keeps on talking,
Some crowd the forum,
or citing, we should
some
say.
the house of the ruler of the depths. Others follow their trades, imitating their previous lives.
I have no idea what that means, or, fair enough.
They never do.
So,
The newly
tiny
arrived
spoiler,
are
maybe,
ignorant
but
of the road before them.
what she's citing is the translation of the part of the fourth book of the Metamorphoses by Ovid. It's a description of the underworld. And what's interesting is that they copied literally the translation by A.S. Klein, the second edition from 2014, which is the one you find at
You,
Poetry and
tablets,
Translation.
cannot catch the drops of water.
There's one thing that
and
they've
the
changed.
tree you grasp
In the
eludes you.
the Latin text, it says at one point it says mille capax aeditus et apertas unique portas urbs habet, which Klein translates as the roomy city has 1,000 entrances and open gates on every side. but they left that out for some reason, and I think some of you might already guess it, but it's gonna become obvious why they leave it out. I think at this point, I am gonna go to a different save file so we can explore a part of the game that's a little bit further along. But there's one interesting, a couple interesting things that I really want to talk about. So I'm gonna load a different. Oh no, I have to go back to the main menu, I think. Oh, because I want to show something specifically that I think is really interesting. Oh yeah, I still haven't looked where you can have the sun. So I will do that with the second file.
While you load that up, there was a comment in the chat by Crispinus a while ago. Does one gain advantages by relying on enslaved people in the game? And despite the diversity of the game, and there is some kind of slavery, there isn't actually really any slavery in it. So that's an area where it's a bit of a they're sort of dodging there a little bit.
True. Yeah.
In the same way that in the gladiator question, they do a bit of a dodge there as well with the most of them are volunteers. Like, well, okay, right.
Yeah. True.
It's more contractual bondage.
But in this game, it wouldn't make sense to have the slavery because then it would be a sin and then it wouldn't work. So I'm not sure. Did he?
I think he defends that, doesn't he?
He does defend it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's one of the ways in which this game is sort of deeply involved in philosophy, and I wasn't surprised to hear in David's talk earlier that that's one of the main interests of the designer. Yeah, but I think a 20-person, like having slavery work in a 20-person society is maybe a little maybe it didn't go for that. But yeah, just something that isn't as covered as it could be.
Yeah, that's true. So we're a little bit further along in the game now, and the Equitia was a Vestal priestess in the game has asked that we go see her in the bathhouse. So let's go. Oh, now that okay. There is a hole in the ceiling of the cave, I guess you could call it. So yeah, that's where they get the light from, apparently. So let's go.
Oh, there's birds too.
Yeah, there. Yeah, true. I hear. Yeah. There's a bird right there. So yeah, the birds should be able to get out. Yeah. So let's go to Equitia and hear what she has to say. And I think that the fact about the citation from the Metamorphoses is also really interesting, because I think lately, the past couple of years, we see more and more games that literally cite ancient sources. Like you have those Homeric hymns in Immortals Phoenix Rising, you have the Knights by Aristophanes in Odyssey, there's the papyrus fragments in Hades when you move through different regions of the underworld that you can see. So I think that's an interesting development, that they're going for more literary sources. And what's really interesting about this game is that they actually cite the translation in their credits. So they have acknowledgements and then they refer to the translation that they've used. So it's almost like a pseudo-bibliographical reference that they have in this game, which I think is an interesting thing that they included. Because Odyssey does not do that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there was a question in the chat on Zoom about the citations for the inscriptions, and they are not cited anywhere. I don't think it says anything about who did the lab for those, does it?
You mean the inscriptions? Oh, no, they don't do that.
Yeah, the inscriptions in graffiti.
Yeah, no, they have a couple of consultants, but I'm not sure. I mean, David might know who did the inscriptions themselves, but I'm not sure who. I personally am not sure.
Yeah, and it's not clear from the
credits. No. They do name their consultants, I think, in the credits.
Yep.
But but they don't explicitly say. So Equitia is meeting us here. What does she have to say?
All right, you're here.
Well, we've been talking about Karen, by the way, with her in a previous quest. So
Down at the bottom of the baths.
She knows something, or she's noticed something about that character.
If only we could see.
What do we see
the
here?
marvelous lamp. But do you see it? Somebody waking up by a river in a forest.
Things are
to
starting
find a
to make
hooded
sense
figure with a
at this
coin.
point.
It's just as you described it. Only your pronunciation is a little off. The name you heard wasn't Karen. It was C-H-A-R-O.
So, what we thought was just a Karen meme is actually
Charon, the ferryman of the dead.
Charon.
Charon, who in exchange
And
for the right coin,
that makes sense with the
helps
boat that we
souls
saw
of
and with the
new
coins
deceased
that we
cross the
used
Styx,
to
the
pick
river
our
that
gender.
separates the land of the living from the
So they were
land of the
all
dead.
references
When
to
I dragged
Charon.
you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, but all I found was some loose change. Feels like I've spent my whole life in
And
a
this joke
dead-end
about
job
the
with an endless
the
commute.
dead-end job with an endless commute,
Sorry
that
if I
really
sounded cagey, it's just
that was great.
I don't always get the best reactions when
Yep.
I introduce myself. My name's...
I really like the way that they kind of
There
piece
are a
that
bunch
out.
of old stories
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
Greeks punishing people
Pick
by
up on
making
it
them do
earlier.
the same
I
thing
don't think
over
anyone
and
would
over.
think that at that point in the game. I mean, there's no way to know it before you play it, I think.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, we're so used to seeing Charon as like a skeletal dude in a robe.
Yeah, so they go for the cross-gender reception of Karen. So they Karen is a woman in this game, which I think is a really interesting point, and it builds upon the diversity that they have, I think, in the game. And so at this
Yeah.
point, we found out that this place that we're actually in is the underworld. So that means that we have died.
All these people.
That's why we didn't know where we were coming from. I mean, we didn't know why we were waking up with Karen at the Tiber.
Escaped with their lives after all. Perhaps we should be grateful they don't remember their final moments. It also tells us that
So the golden rule is then the work of Pluto, she says, the god of the underworld. So Pluto is the god that has imposed that golden rule. Like, if you sin, everybody dies.
I know it's a lot to take in, and you look as if you have questions.
And
so
also, like
I'll try to answer them. if
another
I can.
spoiler maybe. So the Pluto is the person who is behind, of the god, I should say, behind all of this. But then the whisper that you hear, that's actually Proserpina. So she is guiding you through this ethical or moral simulation, you could call it, or the underworld, as a way of trying to find out how you could beat that rule. Like, how do you stand up to that? So she's using you as a way of fighting back against her oppressor or abductor, I think you could say. So
Interesting.
we're dead, you can say.
That was my first thought too. In the old stories, the underworld was where the souls of the deceased were taken. But it was also possible for the living to reach it without dying, if they were particularly fearless. So I'm afraid I don't know.
What can you tell us about Charon?
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you're not from here. If you were Roman, or even Greek, you would know these stories. Each of them is slightly different, whether the storyteller was Plato, Homer, Virgil, or Ovid. But they always involved the souls of the dead meeting a grim ferryman named Charon on the bank of a river. It was said that he'd help the new arrival cross, only if they could pay him with a coin.
So I think this is an interesting way to receive the underworld, and I think we've seen a couple of interesting receptions of the underworld. Hades, of course, but also this game Persephone, where death is a mechanic rather than a punishment, where you have to plan your deaths in that game in order to move through the puzzle. So I think the underworld really lends itself really easily to these creative receptions, I think.
To be fair, the ferryman isn't exactly...
Yeah, Quest for Glory 5 had a really great underworld too.
Which one?
Quest for Glory 5.
Oh, I haven't played that yet.
Oh, it's so fun. It's fifth and last installment in the Quest for Glory series, which usually like hops in between
And Rufius described
like world style. So the first one is like European sort of mythology. Second one is Arabic. Third one is African. Fourth one is Central European. And then the fifth one they go to kind of like a pseudo Greece called Thamaria.
Oh yeah. I think yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, Genie. It's Quest for Glory is amazing. It's one of my favorite series ever. It's so good and so full of puns. Kind of a late Sierra game, so like right when they were in their prime. But yeah, one of the quests is to go to the underworld, and you have to like bribe Cerberus to get past him, and you walk through like this big, skeletal landscape with fire and brimstone and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That sounds really fun. I have to check that out.
Maybe there's something.
Yeah, I've been thinking I might stream it. Just because I haven't played it in years.
That might explain why we wound up here.
That would be nice. I would watch that.
Others did not.
Yeah.
No, I mean I had.
So she's explaining us, explaining to us where we are and how it all makes sense that it's the underworld.
I promise you. Now that we know where we are, we have to figure out what to do about it if we don't want to be cast into gold for eternity. We don't have much.
So how do we make this work? What do we do?
I remember 4 in particular.
And she's going to reference some underworld myths.
And son of Jupiter, Orpheus, a Thracian poet, Sisyphus, a king of Ephyra, and Aeneas.
About Hercules, Orpheus, Sisyphus, and Aeneas.
Hercules was able
and how did they get out?
Underworld because he cowed its god with his strength. Sisyphus and Orpheus.
I don't think we should really be using Sisyphus as an example here. Didn't work out too well for him.
True.
Proserpina to help them escape. And finally, Aeneas was able to escape with the help of a spirit
So
guide
she's listing possibilities that we could use to get out of there.
So it seems
You have 2 options, she says.
to confront the god of the underworld head on, or find a way to escape with the help of Proserpina or some other guide.
So these 4 options that we have here, we can go over them. We can go over all of them, but it's gonna take a really long time. So I'm just gonna pick a couple of them, I think, and
that option
maybe skip through some of the dialogue because I want to show something else as well. But I wanted to show this because it's a really interesting way that they receive the underworld in this way.
As I said, Hercules managed to overpower the god of the underworld, but he was a demigod. Forgive my candor, but you are no
And so by
Hercules.
giving us these
Are you telling me that you can?
similarities, and we have to try to do what Hercules or Aeneas or Sisyphus or Orpheus did. Our player character is sort of also he's trying to be one of those heroes. I think like he's characterized as someone who could potentially do the same thing, get away from the underworld. So it's kind of like he's his own, or she is her own ancient hero.
You'll need to enter the great temple overlooking the city. The problem is, the door has been sealed shut for as long as I've lived here, and there doesn't even seem to be a keyhole. I suspect the answer lies in
So
the
there's an
desecrated
obelisk in front of the
it.
temple at the top
I'm not
of
sure if
the
you noticed, but there are 4 plaques missing from its base.
city.
It looks
And
as
there's
though
4
someone,
plaques
or a
at
series of
the
savages,
obelisk,
forcibly
but
removed them.
they've been removed for
And
some
in doing
reason,
so,
and maybe if we
dishonored
can
and
get them back in
angered
there,
our divine keeper.
we
If you
can
could recover and replace
get out of
all
there
4 of those missing
or receive an
plaques,
audience with
I imagine he might be willing to receive an
Pluto.
audience again. It's the towering stone monument with 4 sides.
I'm gonna
and
skip
a
through some of the
pyramid-shaped
dialogue
head
here,
that stands before the
so
great
we
temple.
can
You'll
get
find
some
them. However, that means you'll need to recover
more
4
gameplay, but we
different
have to find 4 different
Roman,
plaques:
Greek,
Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and a fourth, which is a mystery one.
plaque.
So we'll have to look for that. But I'm gonna
Good question.
go through this dialogue really quickly.
I'm a
as well as this.
As I meant, if the story.
So that's one way of getting out of the underworld, is finding these
In any
4 plaques. Or you can also delve into the mystery more, and then maybe you can leave with the help of Proserpina, with the help of the Whispers. But for what I want to show is we need to go find for the Egyptian plaque, and because I've already played it, I know where it is, so we can just go there. and that's gonna be really interesting, I think. It does uphold the story of Proserpina's rape, and it doesn't erase it. So it's not a romanticized reception, which is also something different from many other game receptions, I think. So, to find the Egyptian plaque, we'll have to go in here eventually. And this is a temple. It's a Greek temple. The other ones were Roman temples, but this one, you have to sort of investigate on your own, and you find this shrine to Demeter. You can expect it, but if you look closely in the temple, you find out that there is this small hole here that you can walk through. Then, yeah, it's gonna load for a while. There's a fallen Greek sculpture. It's been here for quite some time, apparently. Let's run a little bit. So eventually, you find this place. And there's an old man there. And if we look here, you can find another inscription, but this one is in Greek, Diato namartion tu enosoi poloi paschontai, which also isn't perfect Greek, but it sort of means the same as the Latin inscriptions mean. So it's the many shall suffer for the sins of the one. So we have the same inscription here, but we have it in Greek, which is interesting.
Come and join me by the
There's
fire.
a stranger here we can talk to.
Welcome, welcome. May I ask your name? It's
Oh
a
yeah, this is
sincere
my own
pleasure to
player name.
meet
It's not
you.
Ames's anymore. This
Tell
is a
me,
different save.
What brings you all the way down here?
Wait. Is that... Did they make that one really old Roman portrait dude into a character?
The Roman portrait dude? Which one?
It looks a bit like that, doesn't it? Like the one of those Veristic.
Yeah, like the really angry Republican dude.
Oh, yeah, could be.
It looks so much like him.
Ah,
I don't
yes.
think it's supposed to be.
That curse.
I think it's by accident.
I know exactly what it is.
Well, it's my headcanon now, so too late.
But first, a request.
So
I've
he
been
wants
living down here
something from
alone
us.
For many years,
He hasn't talked with
nobody to
anyone for a
talk
long
to
time.
But myself. The one thing I long for above all else before
And he
I
wants to
die
have
is
a good philosophical argument with somebody
with
astute.
somebody astute. I'm hoping that person is you. Let us find out.
Where did he get food? That's a good question. Actually, you find out that he's been stealing the offerings to Demeter. And that was one of the things that some of the residents of the city found weird, because every time they put food, the next day the food would be gone. But because he was stealing it and eating it, and that's how he survived.
Excellent. I see you are indeed quite astute. Very few come to that realization before their time in the sun is over. Now, will you join me in a friendly Socratic dialogue?
Will we join him in a friendly Socratic dialogue? What do you think? What should we do? You can also ask yourself, how friendly are Socratic dialogues? But
It's quite long.
yeah, it is. But I might skip through a little bit of it, but it's interesting. So I'm gonna. Or I mean, you only have 15 minutes left. Should we just pass it? No.
Yeah,
The
maybe
chat is
pass it.
saying, yes, Socrates. I'm not sure. We can.
I would skip it.
You would skip it?
I think it,
Alright,
it's,
yeah.
it's good. And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think that's one we can leave for other people. But that idea, like,
Yeah.
leave for people to do on their playthroughs.
All right.
It's Like it's deeply engaged with philosophical ideas. So it's really well done.
Yeah, true. I think, I mean, this is the main point of the game. Like the Nick Pierce, the guy who developed it, is he was bored with shooting mechanics and the hyperkinetic video games that we often get. So he wanted to make a game where people would reflect and think, and that is the main. I mean, it's a very it's like I said, it's like this ethical moral simulation. And what would a city be like without sin? How do you do that? And he also wants us to think about the justness, the justice of laws as well. Like, should we uphold a law that we don't think is just? His point is not let's descend into anarchy and do whatever we want, but his point is to reflect and think about stuff. And I think that is why this game is so interesting, especially when compared to the Roman aspect, because usually when we think about philosophy in games or receptions, we think about Greece. Greece is the place where we have the big philosophers, but in this game it's Rome where we have that. I mean, I think that's quite interesting in this game.
A shame.
Yeah, I agree.
But suit yourself.
Also because this game is wait, did we just lose something? I know, I'm not sure. Also because this game is more mythologically inclined, because usually mythology is also reserved for Greece in receptions. I think Rome is more the historical aspect that you often get with Rome, like the big empires and the grand narratives. But in Rome, in this game, it's mythology that is paired with Greece, because you're often compared to characters from mythology like Sisyphus, because Sisyphus is continually pushing up a stone on a hill and then starting over every day again. Here, with the time travel loop, every time you break the golden rule, the day resets and it starts over. So you're kind of like Sisyphus, or you're like the Danaid, like we saw earlier. You're eternally doing something, or Tantalus, for example. Like so how do you get out of that loop? It's one of the questions that the game asks. What you should do? What do you need to do in order to get out of that eternal punishment? And yeah, this is the bathtub or the barrel where he lives. So it's a very it's a reference to Diogenes. So then we need to go here, but I think we can't go further without doing the Socratic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think, but I can just skip through the dialogue maybe. And
Ah, you've returned. Good to see you again.
Let's see.
You see, it is a curse.
Oh wait, no, you don't have to do it. It's fine like this. So Kabash, the character that we that is mentioned here, is one of the 3 people that disappeared. He apparently left with the Egyptian plaque that we need.
I will tell you, but you may find him hostile. To prepare for your encounter, there are certain things you must know. Very few know.
Diotima has a question in the Twitch chat.
Oh.
Since this is Roman, do you see more connections with the Ovidian or Virgilian afterlife portraits versus Homeric?
When the Romans came,
good question.
They claimed it as their own.
I haven't gone back and read the Ovid section. I think it's generally, except for the part that you said earlier that was omitting, it sticks pretty closely to that.
Yeah. I was also thinking more Ovidian than Virgilian.
And the city's dwindling Greek
because they literally cite it.
Roman conquest.
Yeah.
The Ovidian one is more generic. It's more like regular people plus the mythic figures you've heard of, whereas the Virgilian one would be like, oh, show us the that would be the Assassin's Creed model. We have a laundry list of famous people you want to talk to.
Yeah, and also, I mean, with the entire thing about people turning into gold is literally metamorphosis. So maybe you would, I'd say it's more Ovidian than Virgilian.
I'm getting to that.
Agreed.
But I am gonna skip through this dialogue. Because I will narrate it later. We took the key.
I enjoy.
So now we can go through that door. Alright. And we see some wrapped corpses in cloth.
And so when we go to talk to the philosopher dude, we're greeted with a Greek inscription.
Yeah.
And then when we go looking for the Egyptian plaque, we get mummies.
Exactly. So, let's go further. And this is one part of the game where there is some, I mean, I wouldn't call it violent, but there is some action more. It's not just, so we have this bow with the golden bow of Diana that we can use to turn enemies into gold. But these are more like, I mean, they don't count towards the breaking the golden rule, like if you transform them.
Can't believe you were given the option to kick the statue and you didn't do it.
Oh wait, you want me to go back and kick it?
Yes!
Here we go.
I feel like at the start when you first get the bow and you start turning people into gold and you kick every.
There we go.
Yeah, true.
Like,
True.
Nah, I didn't kick them all over. But I guess that's the version of Assassin's Creed, break every pot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also when we go even deeper into the underworld, we see some interesting structures. And some more of these creatures. They take 2 arrows most of the time. So we found the Greek inscription below the Roman one, and now we see these obviously Egyptian columns. So the underworld, this version of the underworld, it conflates it conflates the Egyptian duat, for example, like it's all the same place. And Pluto, for example, this version of Pluto is is syncretized with Hades, but also with the Egyptian god Osiris, and even further on a deeper level with another god as well. And here we have the Egyptian plaque with the hieroglyphics, hieroglyphs, which says the many shall suffer for the sins of the one as well in hieroglyphs. I don't read hieroglyphs, but I'm not sure. I mean, if this is correct or if this is good, but someone in the chat might be more knowledgeable on this than I am. So I think it's interesting that we have kind of this inter-mythological reception or inter-mythological storytelling. Like it combines different mythological traditions, and it sorts of it draws on their shared similarities, their interrelations with each other. The conflation of Osiris and Pluto is interesting because Osiris is in Greek mythology is supposed to be Dionysus, I think. So I think that's an interesting parallel. We have these statues of Aker as well. In ancient Egyptian deities had to guard against evil spirits and welcome the dead to the underworld. We have more hieroglyphs here. And these inter-mythological receptions is something that we often see in games as well. Like in Smite, you can play as gods from all, like more than 100 gods from different pantheons. In God of War, first you play in the Greek mythological world, then you go to the Norse mythological world, Titan Quest as well. So I think that's also an interesting aspect of this game, which I really wanted to show. Then here we find...
Stop! Do not come any closer.
Kabash.
Who are you? I am Kabash. And let
Do you get the translations popping up if you don't play the archaeologist? You don't. If you don't play as the archaeologist, it says if only I knew Latin, for example, and then then you can you can't read them, but then other people translate them for you, I think. What is the gurgling? The gurgling is the zombies that we skipped on this place.
To what end?
On our journey here.
That is welcome news.
So he's been guarding the
You really
Egyptian
are
plaque.
not Greek or Roman, are you? I was planning to return it myself, but for now, I must remain. Here, take it and restore the honor of Osiris.
So he just gives us the Egyptian plaque pretty easily. Maybe a little bit too easy.
Now, as for the other plaque.
And apparently he knows something about that fourth mystery plaque that Equitrat didn't specifically name.
Indeed, I
And
have
he
it
has
right
it.
here. I stumbled across a collection of dusty curiosities while searching for a place to hide from the hungry children of Amit, and there it was.
May I have it?
You may not. In fact, I am about to destroy it. Because it speaks a treacherous, blasphemous
Oh, that's inconvenient.
Yeah.
I will tell you, but first, do you know what this place is?
Again, the archaeologist insight, we can say it's a duat.
Indeed, and I see you know our history. This is the duat. See what has become of it. I have been down here for weeks, piecing
I'm gonna skip through this as well because we have 4 more minutes and I just want to show the level below this, below the Egyptian one.
You are too late. It is done.
But he drops it. No, I'm going to have to go and after it.
You would plunge into the depths of the duat with no...
So, let's jump after the plaque. And again, the water saves us. And we find out it's a Sumerian plaque to the god Nergal, the Fierce One, who in their mythology is also the Lord of the Underworld. So that is the 4th level. So we have Pluto, Hades, Osiris, and Nergal. And so here we have the Sumerian part of the city, and it has these Lamassu statues. And these other statues were
cool.
Kumutabal, which is... So, since Pluto has different identities, so it's Pluto, Hades, Osiris, and I just said it, Nergal. Charon also has different identities. So Charon in Roman Greece it's Charon, but then in Egypt it was Kerti, and in the Sumerian culture it was Kumutabal. So she also has different identities in this game. This is more like a maze kind of the structure of the game. But then we have these things, and I'm eager to see what you all think of this. If you happen to walk on these plates, you get this huge rock, which obviously wasn't inspired by Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I mean, so yeah. I found that quite funny when I first played through it.
I never noticed that you were getting killed by a rock. I just stood on the plate.
Oh really?
And
Yeah.
died. I just didn't
oh
see the rock.
okay.
And then I saw the rock in the trailer. I think that Davida played, and I was like, "Where's that rock? I'm gonna go looking for that."
Yeah, I know there's a couple of them. Like there's one here as well.
Yeah. I just thought they were all instant death traps.
Yeah.
The clothing on these people is interesting too. Like they're all dressed differently for the different underworlds.
Yeah, I think so. Zoom in a little bit. So I see we are almost out of time. We have 1 more minute, so I think this is perhaps a good stopping point. We've reached the depth of the underworld after an hour and a half. So I want to thank Kira and Hamish again. So let's go have a virtual round of applause for them being co-hosts on the stream. I also want to talk about briefly announce the next event, which is a creator interview and roundtable called Ancient Inspirations, New Fiction. It's a discussion with authors by Thomas J. West, Beverly J. Graff, and Amanda Potter at the 3 EST, so that's in about half an hour on Zoom. So thank you for being here. I really liked it. I hope you thought it was interesting, and I hope you maybe have become interested in playing the game, because it's an interesting game, and it's not as long as Hamish said. You can beat it in 5 to 8 hours, I think, on a normal playthrough. Although if you make some specific choices, you can beat it in 20-30 minutes, but I won't spoil that for you. But you can see the credits roll after a small half hour. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, Kira and Hamish. I really liked it, and hope you have a nice rest of the conference. Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.